All right, guys, we are live. Good afternoon. Welcome to another Friday Flyover. I'm your host, Jim Icabone, and today we're talking Flyers draft and Michkov Mania, baby. It happened. That's right. Matvei Michkov is a Philadelphia Flyer. Haven't stopped thinking about that for the last 2 straight days. I want to hear your guys' reactions, obviously. Exciting night. We posted a couple videos you guys saw. Had a couple of the guys over, and we had a good time. And we celebrated, the San Jose Sharks taking a guy like Will Smith, and the Canadians taking David Reinbacher just as much as we did when the Flyers took Michkov. I think once some of those guys got picked, it was inevitable that the Flyers were either going to get Michkov or Ryan Leonard. Would have been happy with either one. Thought it was less of a possibility that the Flyers got Michkov, but they got him. They got arguably the best pure goal scorer in the draft. I know Connor Bedard's Connor Bedard, and it's just on another level as in terms of complete player, but in terms of just raw goal scoring, Michkov is right there with him. I'm sure you've seen some of his highlights by now. They're all over YouTube. All over YouTube. People are posting them all over Twitter. Some may be a little too much, but they're out there. So, yeah, good stuff there. If you're watching live on YouTube, subscribe, set alerts for some future shows. If you're in the Twitter space, awesome. Thanks for hanging out. I want to hear from you guys. So make sure to head over to YouTube and Spotify or Apple Podcasts and subscribe to the show. Yeah, you can find all of our social media links at hoo.be/hockey or head over to hwhockey.net. All of our past podcast episodes are there and our most recent article. I think Paul Pollock just recapped the draft for us, put out a good article, about over 2,000 word article. So good stuff there. So yeah, all right, we're getting a couple people trickling in here, a couple people watching live on YouTube. So let's get into it, guys. So first and foremost, throughout the show, I want to hear from you. So if you're in the comments on YouTube, great. If you're listening on Twitter Live, chime in, raise your hand or whatever it's called. We'll get you guys in the show. I want to hear what you guys think about Matvei Michkov. Is it Matt V or Matt Vi? I think it's Matt V. So interesting stat that I saw here on Michkov. Can't remember where I saw it. Probably should have wrote that down. But Michkov has, in his draft year, 4 less points than Ovechkin, right? In 26 less games played in the same year. I got to take these headphones off. And actually, you know where I think I saw that was in Paul's Flyers draft analysis article. And that's amazing, right? Ovechkin was, or he is still, a generational talent. I mean, he's going to potentially break Gretzky's goal scoring record. And the Flyers just drafted a guy who outplayed him in his draft year. Incredible. So be super, super excited. If you somehow missed the draft, it went like this. So it started out pretty weird. Obviously, Chalk went first. Chicago and their whole Weasel franchise took Connor Bedard, first overall. We all knew that was coming. Second overall pick, right off the bat, things did not go as expected. For the longest time, any mock that you saw, I think, had Adam Fantilli going second. You even saw people wore Duck jerseys with Fantilli in the back to the draft, right? And rightly so, because he was the, I think, rumored second overall pick since the season ended. And to at least my surprise, Leo Carlsson went second. So right off the bat, this draft kind of had a vibe like, okay, things are going to get weird here, and let's see how far it goes. Because let's face it, the top 4 picks, Bedard, Carlson, Fantilli, they were always going top 4. Didn't really matter what order, but they were always going top 4. And so when Anaheim kind of went off course somewhat early, you kind of had the feeling, at least I did, that things are going to get a little funky here. Like, let's see how weird they get. So anyway, third pick, Columbus, rumored to take a center for, the last couple of weeks. And I'm sure that they were plenty happy with Adam Fantilli falling to them at 3, and so they took him. Not really a surprise there. The 4th pick, and this is where, at least if you were watching the draft in my house, you were pretty excited because you knew that if Will Smith went top 6, there was a good chance the Flyers were going to get one of Leonard, Michkov, and I think a lot of guys wanted Benson as well, who ended up going outside the top 10. But there was a good chance the Flyers were going to at least have a shot at drafting one of those 3 guys. Now, for me, it was always between Ryan Leonard and Michkov, right? Thinking that there was no way Michkov was going to fall. I think Montreal was kind of shooting smoke for a good portion of at least a month with all that Ryan Leonard talk. I think they were trying to get the Flyers to trade up to 5 because I think they knew that Michkov was going to fall to 7, so they were still going to get, potentially their guy and whatever the Flyers were going to pony up. I think it was rumored the 22. So I'm not sure what happened there, but what I do know at 4, when the Sharks took Smith, to me that meant, oh my God, the Flyers are they're getting a guy here. And when Montreal went Reinbacher, I think we were all kind of in disbelief. And I feel bad for Carey Price a little bit. Seems like a really good guy. I know he was going through some mental struggles the last year or so. And, to have that happen to him, I felt bad for him. Yeah, I genuinely felt bad. Felt bad for the player as well, for Reinbacher. But, to have that happen to you in a situation like that where you're just completely blank, it sucks. And I'm not so sure that, Reinbacher wasn't their plan B, right? Because for a little while, I speculated that Smith could have been their pick at 5 because there's the connection there with Ken Hughes and Boston College, yada, yada. And Montreal could, maybe need a center, a distributor for Caulfield and whoever else. But they go Reinbacher, the big 6'2" Austrian defenseman. Great. To me, that meant, all right, let's see what Arizona does because it's Michkov Leonard time, baby, right? And they go Simashev, which, was maybe the surprise of the draft. I think it came out recently that Michkov told Arizona, I will never play for you guys, so do not draft me. And so all of a sudden at 7, you're sitting there staring Michkov right in the face. And the Flyers didn't hesitate. They ran up to the podium and they got their guy. They have arguably the most offensively talented player since Eric Lindros coming on into their team. I know it's going to take a couple of years, and we'll see. I know he's 17, 18 years old, scoring a lot of unbelievable, unreal goals in Russia, but this kid's fun, right? And for the longest time, the Flyers have been so offensively vanilla, right? They've been, as a total team, they've been tough to watch, but offensively, they've just been so bland. No real true playmaker, no true playmaking star. Claude Giroux's been gone for a year or two. But in terms of excitement, a guy that's going to put asses in seats, this is the guy. When he hops over the boards, he's on the ice because you're anticipating greatness. That's what the Flyers have. Finally. Who's the last player they've had like that, right? I remember when they traded back for Forsberg, everybody was excited because it was Forsberg, but he was a little older and whatnot. Claude Giroux, the Flyers drafted, so not that we took him for granted, but he wasn't the type of guy that, okay, Claude Giroux's on the ice, everybody perks up. When he did something, we were all amazed and were excited. Michkov, you're going to games to watch Michkov when he comes over. And that gets me excited because I like fun. Who doesn't like fun, right? Guys, so I kind of went on a little bit there. Got a couple people in the room. I want to hear what you guys think on Michkov. We got a couple comments here on YouTube as well. This is from Dave. Bonk is fine, but a bit of a stretch. Michkov, huge W. Yeah, and we didn't even get the Bonk yet. So as we got closer to the draft, we started to see Bonk's name kind of pop up in in the first round. And honestly, I didn't do any really reading or research on him because there was other guys that I liked, quite frankly, at 22. Now, I'm not going to be one of those guys who's going to try to convince myself or convince others that, hey, this guy's going to be really good, because there are people out there that will do that. But let them develop. There's no reason to pump up anybody's expectations for a guy that you didn't even hear of before the draft, right? All of a sudden the Flyers got him and you're going to pump up unreal expectations. I disagree with that. Let the kid develop and let's go. Michkov, pump up all you want because he's legitimate, So let's see here. We have Ted. Did you see the Ducks fan with the Fantilli jersey? Yeah, I did. I felt bad, but also, come on, what are you doing? Eric Wisniewski. Eric, thanks for hanging out. This was the best first round since Peter Forsberg, then Lindros trade. I don't remember that. I was a young kid. So this was the most fun that I've ever had during a Flyers draft. Usually they're trading guys that you like, or they're trading back and not taking players that you want them to take, a la Cole Caulfield. And by the way, we can stop talking about Caulfield now, I think, because Michkov, as good as Caulfield is going to be, Michkov's going to make everybody forget about Cole Caulfield real quick. Because Caulfield's don't get me wrong, he's a great pure shooter, but Michkov's just going to have you creaming in your pants, guys. Like, your jaw's going to be on the floor when you see some of the stuff that he's going to be doing. So we have a comment here from Slayport. Not going to lie, I actually cried when we got. Well, I hope they were tears of joy, right? Yeah, we couldn't believe it. So we kind of did a live video, live show. I say live show like that because it wasn't really a show. It ended up just being a live kind of watch party type thing. And I was in disbelief at first. As soon as they announced from St. Petersburg, I was like, wait, what? Like, there's no way. And then when they announced his name, obviously the celebration, just disbelief. Let's scroll through a couple more comments here. I believe this kid will be the Flyers' all-time scorer one day, beating Bobby Clark career points. I mean, let's hope. If he has a career like that, that'd be amazing. I wouldn't say 40 goals a year is out of the question. And when's the last time you could say that about a Flyer forward? Jeff Carter put up 40 goals a couple times, took a lot of shots to do it. John LeClair, 50-plus goals 3 straight years. Played alongside Eric Lindros, not taking anything away from LeClair, because 50 goals is 50 goals. But that's how long it's been since the Flyers have had a real guy that they could rely on for goals. And you know what else I like that Michkov said? Seems like a character guy. Now, I've only seen the few clips from the draft, so I don't want to speak, like I know more than I'm saying here. But he seems like a mature kid. Like, you see some of these prospects and you're like, kid. But when Michkov speaks to the media, you could see he's a little bit further along with some of the answers that he's given and things like that, which I thought was something to, take interest in. Coming to a market like Philadelphia, maybe it's better that he doesn't understand what the hell people are saying. He doesn't understand English yet. I'm sure that'll change, but somebody should tell him, hey, maybe don't learn English when you go to a market like Philadelphia. We'll see. I'm going to scroll down some of your comments here. Knuble. So Eric Wisniewski, I'm happy with Knuble kid being a Flyer. Yeah, and I have my notes here. So let me just read down the rest of the Flyers draft pick. So Oliver Bonk was picked in the first round, the 22nd overall pick, big right-handed defenseman. And that was a theme. That was the start of a theme for the draft. The Flyers have been a franchise where, it turns out some of the most valuable positions are center, right-handed defense, and obviously goalie. And where have the Flyers been extremely weak the past, I don't even know how long, but they've never had goalies. All of a sudden, they're chocked full of goaltenders, and I'll get to the goaltending pipeline in a second. Centers, they could still use some help. I think they're trying to address that. They drafted Cutter Gauthier, 5th overall last year. Left winger, but they're trying to change to the center position. We'll see. Morgan Frost is coming around on the Flyers roster. But you go through the pipeline, they could still use more centermen. Right-handed defense has been a problem. And you can see by, bringing in Matt Niskanen didn't work out, or he retired early. Who's the other guy? They brought in Justin Braun to kind of hang around for a while. They went out and traded for Ristolainen. So you're making bad trades for right-handed D. Ristolainen, D'Angelo, second and a third for Braun. You can argue back and forth. That was too much. He was serviceable. A trade for Niskanen. So my point is they've been overpaying for a position that they could easily draft and stock up and, have their own guys. When it's time to move some of these guys, they'll get assets back for them. So what they did in this draft were they drafted 3 right-handed defensemen in Oliver Bonk. I didn't write down this guy's first name, so I apologize if anybody's watching wants to help me out. Southern, right-handed defense, and is it Matthew Mann? I can't remember this guy's first name either. But anyway, I'm sorry. So Mann is a 6'6" defenseman. I believe he's playing in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League. Somebody wants to help me out there as well. So really stocked the cupboard there. They traded for Helge Grans in the Provorov trade. All of a sudden, you just added 4 right-handed defensemen to Ronnie Attard and Ethan Sampson. So all of a sudden, you're kind of stocked up on right-handed D. They drafted 2 goalies in this draft with back-to-back picks. So Bjarnason, I think I'm saying that guy's last name right, was the highest-rated North American goaltender in the draft. And so had to cherry-pick this one because a lot of these prospect rankings didn't have him anywhere close to the first round, but Craig Button had him 24th overall. So take that as you may. I'm going to cherry pick it because, there wasn't, in my opinion, there wasn't much else to cherry pick without watching. So goalies to me, if you watch one, you've watched them all. I'm not an expert in goaltending. I don't watch goalies. In my opinion, there's 32 spots. You can start a backup, and if you have a good team in front of them, you can win some hockey games. So I'm not the guy to talk to when it comes to goalies. I'll admit that. But apparently they snagged a good one in Bjarnason. The second goaltender they grabbed, this guy in the 3rd round, 87th overall, Igor Zavragin. I'm sure I'm saying that wrong. Supposedly, and I think this is according to Bill Meltzer, the highest-rated Russian goaltender in the draft. So they snagged 2. So they're stocked up on goaltenders again, and they're stocked up on right-handed defensemen. So they addressed 2 very important positions, 2 desirable positions that when it's time to maybe, because not all these guys can play, but hopefully they all develop, you start moving some of these guys out, you get some assets, and we'll go from there. A lot of people wanted to speculate and say, what's this mean for Carter Hart? Well, nothing yet, because you need goalies in the pipeline. These kids are years away from ever playing for the Flyers. I think Zavragin, I hope I'm saying it right because it doesn't sound right there, but 17-year-old Russian goaltender. I'll go on the short side and say that he doesn't play for the Flyers for 6 years. 23 years old. So it's going to be a while before you see Igor, if ever, because we know that they've drafted some good goalies in the past. Ustimenko for one of them, and who's the other guy? Tomek is highly touted. Will never play for the Flyers. So who knows what can happen between now and 5 and 6 years. So it's good just to have them around. Things don't work out, you can always draft a couple more. So they also went out and got a couple of tenacious players, which I'm excited for. So I wanted Jaden Perron. He was there in the 3rd round, picked 94, I believe. The Carolina Hurricanes took him. So the Hurricanes take every guy that we want, is what I'm realizing. Noel Gonler a couple years back, a few guys from last year that aren't coming to mind now. Jaden Perron was a guy that we wanted, and I think they took a guy in the 1st or 2nd round that Paul wanted as well. But Denver Barkey, small, 5'9", 154, tenacious, right? And he's got a great hockey name. So 5'9", 154, got some room to grow there, and I'm sure room to go. Hopefully he works out. They took him in the 3rd round. Cole Knuble, if you're wondering, you've heard that name before. That's right. He is the son of Mike Knuble, 5'11", 185. He was not drafted last year, I believe. put in the work in the offseason. Flyers took him in the 4th round. Hopefully he works out. He's a hardworking player. Demonstrated good line results in junior hockey. This is according to Paul. I'm looking at his article right here. You guys can go check it out as well. Follow along or read through. Skating's still average, but could keep improving as he did this year. So, there you go. Now, this player they got in the 4th round, Alex Cernik, 5'10", 179. According to Paul, this may be the biggest steal in terms of value. Now, I never heard of this guy, but I hope, right? Like that'd be pretty sick. So let's get some of your guys' opinions here. Let me get YouTube back up and see what's going on in the comment section. I'm sorry. Do we have somebody up that wanted to get in there? We got Luke Ferrandino here, Big Dick Danny. Danny, there's kids on the show. Come on. Think Barkey may be a player. I think Dale Hunter told Jonesy the kid has a lot of bite to him, but who knows? I hope so. There we go. We had Sam on. We had Sam as a speaker. Sam, whenever you're ready, you're connecting. Just take yourself off mute. Let's see what you got on your mind, Sammy.
Hi.
Hey, Sam.
Long time to talk.
Yeah. How are you?
Yeah, I see a lot of comments saying, why did we draft 2 goalies back to back? And it's like, do you realize we don't have any? Because the only one we have left in the pipeline is Kolosov. Well, now these 2, but before that, it was only Kolosov. And it's like, I was literally told I was crazy for thinking that we needed goaltending. And I was like, I'm the one who sits there and literally sees these kids. We don't have goaltending. We're riding on ECHL goaltenders in Lehigh this season without Ersson being there. So, yeah, we needed goaltending, and I think it was a great pickup by Danny.
I agree, because that's something I thought of as well. I'm like, did anybody watch the Phantoms this year? How many goaltenders did the Phantoms start this season?
You had Ersson, you had Nolan Mayer, you had Pat Nagel. And that was pretty much it. Pat would be brought up from Reading when Ersson would be in Philly. Okay.
Yeah, so the first, obviously, and it's okay, because the first thought I think everybody had was, what's this mean for Hart? Because, we follow the Flyers. We don't really I guess most don't pay attention so much to what's happening with the Phantoms, what's happening with some of the other minor league teams. You have to stock the cupboards. You got to keep the pipeline flowing, right? The Flyers are in a good position as far as the goaltenders here. And, they're going to lose Sandstrom, I think, after this season coming up. They lost one more guy. Ustimenko's, didn't turn into much. And that's going to happen with some of these other guys too. So you got to keep the pipeline flowing a little bit as far as goaltenders. You got a couple listeners still going here. Uncle Gudis or Uncle Radko in the call. I want to know what you guys are thinking about Michkov. I want to hear you guys. I got a lot of people in the YouTube chat, which is great. I firmly believe, this is from Phantom 28, I firmly believe Michkov could very well end up being the best pure offensively talented player in this draft, ahead of Bedard. The numbers he's putting up are hard to ignore. We'll see. Let's hope. Could you imagine? Could you imagine if the Flyers got the best overall player at 7? You want to talk about. So I'm not going to put it out there. We'll just let the good vibes flow. What's up, Sam?
He put up I think I put in my draft profile this morning that I did. He put up 109 points 2 seasons ago in the span of 50 some games.
There you go.
The kid has insane numbers.
And what was he, 16, 15, 16?
He played U16, and I think he was put on the U20 team, but don't quote me.
Okay. Yeah, so there you go. He's been doing this for a long time. I'm gonna bring Uncle Gudis on here, or Uncle Radko, sorry. Let's bring him in. Uncle Radko, whenever you're ready to go, buddy. We got Paul in the chat. Matvei Michkov.
Yeah, man.
What's up, Uncle Radko?
I've spent the last 48 hours or so watching nonstop loops of highlights. I'm convinced that in 3 years he walks into the league and scores 100 points without a problem. I'm convinced that he could very well walk in the league in 3 years and be the best Russian player in the league. I think that what the Flyers needed was a playmaker more so than a sniper, and I think they got both in one guy. So couldn't be more happy.
Dude, if you like goals, and we've kind of been starved for goals for a long time here, we're gonna get goals. Like, there's no doubt. Like, that's gonna be a thing. Like, I'm not kidding, and I'm not trying to talk this kid up or fluff everybody up. When this kid comes over the boards, it's fair to expect a goal. Like, you.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, it's not fluff. Watch it.
Yeah.
Real.
Right.
I mean, short of some sort of freak injury, like his floor and this is gonna sound insane. His floor seems like NHL All-Star, with his ceiling being, a top 5 player of all time.
Isn't that crazy?
It's really crazy. I want to get your take on Bomb. A lot of people don't love it. Safe pick. I think that a few of the problems was if you take Perot, you're going right wing, and you have the glut there. If you take Guliev, excuse my pronunciation, you take 2 Russian players, which is a little bit, they probably didn't want to do that. I like Bonk. I mean, I remember his dad, loved his dad. My son's name's Oliver, so I get to get him a jersey. So
there you go.
But I mean, it seems like most people are down on the pick just for limited upside. I think when you get a guy like Michkov, it allows you to take the safer pick here.
That's a good point.
I was wondering what you thought.
Yeah, they were. Bonk was not. So I tried to keep a top 5 or 6 of players that I would have liked the Flyers to take, and Bonk was not even a fragment of my imagination as them taking. But they know what they're doing. I only know.
What D-men did you, if any, did you have on that 5 list?
Yeah, we were looking at Guliev, however you pronounce his name. I think at that point, Simashev was definitely off the board. Paleka was just off the board. Willander was off the board. Obviously, Reinbacher. After those 4 guys, I would have been fine with the Flyers not taking a defenseman. Obviously, Goliev's popular name. He's 5'10", 170, right-handed. I think he's right-handed. Very offensive defenseman.
I'm pretty sure he's a left-hand shot. I'm not.
No, you're right. He is. I just looked it up here. You're right.
I got one more thing on Michkov.
Yeah, sure.
He looked fucking solid. Like, he looked like the 148 pounds, nah.
Yeah, so he's gained a little bit of weight. I don't think they've changed it on some of his on some of the sites yet, though.
I don't worry one bit about him coming in and getting muscled around.
No.
Just doesn't seem like the type. Even when he was a little bit smaller, wasn't getting beat around, to my knowledge, in the KHL. I just want to know how I get a KHL package.
Well, I'll certainly be looking for a couple links. I'll share them if I find them. But yeah, I mean, we're all doing the same thing. I guess we're going to be watching St. Petersburg this year.
At BC, we're going to be watching a lot of college hockey and a lot of KHL. That's good. I mean, we're still going to have winning hockey to watch. Yeah,
very true. Yeah, it's going to be fun. And I think that's what I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to having fun and being excited again. Right? Like that's what really gets me juiced up. Like when you're at a game and you see 39 or whatever number he's going to wear, hop over the boards. You just get your phone out or whatever you do. You record. You're going to see greatness. He's only 17 now. Like, come on. When he gets over here, assuming it's going to take the full 3 years, he'll be 19, 20 years old. And
what's 3 years really, though? If it's not Bedard, everyone else is going to be 1 year. A lot of guys are going to start going to college for 2.
Yeah, totally agree.
I mean, people making such a big – I guess the problem is that there's no guarantee after the 3 years, but I don't know why people are so worried about the 3 years, especially with the Flyers timeline. Like, it doesn't bother me in the slightest.
So I agree and I hear you. I think the big thing is that teams want to get their hands on these players so that they can work with them. And whereas compared to him being over in Russia, his Russian team doesn't give a shit about his development for when he goes to play for the Flyers. If he's playing like shit, they'll play him for 5 games, for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
but his talent.
Excuse me a sec. Sorry, the mailman came to the door. Odin's making an appearance. But yeah, so I think that's the biggest scare is in Russia. They can't do anything with him. They just can only watch, kind of thing. Like the KHL team doesn't care. Whereas if he's here, you can start to correct things. You can get him prepared to play in the NHL, that kind of thing. Because there is an adjustment from KHL to NHL. They play on a bigger ice surface. Things take a little bit longer to develop over there. Whereas here, everything's bang, bang, bang. You know.
Yeah, but how much say do we have in? Does the front office have in what BC does with him? With Cutter. I mean, obviously we want him to play center and try to learn center, but
sure,
they're going to do probably what's best for their team.
Sure. Yeah, I think so. They can, and I don't know if this sounds right, but they can. I don't want to say pressure, but persuade him to sign earlier and get in the Flyer system and whatnot. It's just if you're in the United States, it's a little easier to communicate and talk to and meet with and whatnot. Whereas if you're playing overseas in Russia, you don't know what the hell they're doing with him. He's the Russian team's property kind of deal,
Right.
So I think that's the scare. Yeah.
I got 2 more questions, sort of, and then I got to bounce. The first being, what are the chances of them bringing in a guy, and I don't know who that guy could be, as a senior advisor, a Russian guy as a senior advisor into the front office fold?
Oh, that's good thinking. Yeah, I'm not sure. I've never thought about that. I don't even know who would come to mind. Yeah.
I mean, I know Fedorov coaches in the KHL, so that's not. I think he had NHL aspirations, but he's a head coach in the KHL, I believe. And I don't know. There could be tons of dudes that I just don't know who they are. But I thought that would be an interesting, ploy. And then lastly, the rest of the draft. Anyone stick out to you? Double goalie. I'm fine with it. But any opinions on the rest of the draft?
So I'll tell you the truth. Unless the Flyers unless they drafted some of the players that I was already looking at, I don't rush to, overreact or underreact. Obviously, when they don't pick the guys that you have on your little draft sheet, you're like, well, all right, that kind of sucks a little bit because they had so-and-so sitting right there. But I'm not the kind of guy that's going to pretend that I know more than the Flyers scouting department. You know what I'm saying?
I hate that stuff.
Whereas, there's a lot of people out there that do that kind of stuff. And so I'm kind of like, all right, let things play out. And another thing that bothers me is when, this whole top-ranked prospect pool, yada, yada, let them develop, right? Because you can only say that going based off names on a piece of paper, right? So much can happen between now and when these kids, in 2 to 3 years, so much can happen, between the years, the play on the ice, things change.
Physically, they're 17 and 18-year-old kids. They can get bigger. They can get stronger.
Exactly.
They're going to get bigger. They're going to get stronger. They're going to develop in different ways.
Yep.
Like what you have today is not what you have
exactly
12 months from now, 18 months from now, 24 months from now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so putting labels on things kind of irks me a little bit. Even player comparisons and all that. Like, just let it be what it is. It's a prospect pool. You're supposed to, supposedly they're focused on developing now, and we'll see. They have a couple of their own guys that can get their hands on now, develop. Let's see what happens. So, Uncle Radko, thanks for hanging out once again, man.
Yeah, man. I'll hang a little bit and then I got to bounce, but I'm gonna turn my mic off.
Yes, sir.
All right, see you.
All right, let's go a little bit rapid fire here because I am on my lunch. Let's go to Phileas Flyer, and then we have Amadeo up on deck. I believe this is going to be Anthony or Dan for Phileas Flyer.
What's up, Jimbo? It's Anthony.
Anthony.
You always trust an Anthony, right? But no, here in Uncle Radko there, made all solid points. But I think this draft just worked out perfectly for the Flyers and Danny Briere. I mean, out of the top 7, besides Montreal, Flyers are the biggest hockey market. Michkov wants to play in the bigger market.
Love that.
And coincidentally, those top 7 teams aren't really in a spot where they can sit back for 3 years, right? Like there's pressure on those GMs to compete now. And I think that's another reason why Montreal could not wait, right? Like they need it now. So I think that's another aspect of it that just completely fell in the lap for Danny Briere. And obviously Michkov kind of ghosting Arizona, because that's what I was kind of worried about. Because like realistically, they don't need to compete, right? Like they don't even know if they're going to have a team next year in Arizona at this rate.
Yeah.
So that was the one I was actually worried about, was Arizona. And when they said like I forget the team that he played for, like St. Petersburg or whatever Russian team, I was like, shit, they got him. But then I kind of forgot like who played, like who actually played for in Russia. So I kind of got bummed out for a second, and then I heard the rest of the name obviously, and I was like so excited. But yeah, it literally, it couldn't be perfect for the Flyers in the sense of it's a 3-year timeline. There's no pressure on Briere. There's not really pressure on the franchise in a sense. Like, yes, we have to rebuild, but that's the plan. They've announced it, and that's what it is. So kind of that 3-year timeline gives the Flyers, they can't cut corners, right? So it's like we have 3 years to do this thing right. Like no rush. We have a superstar coming. So you can take that time and use that 3 years to do the right thing. And I think that's the biggest aspect of it all, quite honestly.
Yeah, it seems like there is an actual plan, and you can see it as fans. Whereas, past GMs, the one guy, everything was a friggin' secret, and the second guy just made moves that you didn't know what the hell the plan was. He would do one thing, and the next move would contradict the thing he said or the move he made before. So it's nice in the sense that we're being told something, and they're following it up with action. And what I like the most so far is it seems like they're trying to fix the disconnect with the fan base. Even something so small as this. And maybe I'm a lush, maybe I'm a sucker, but the whole, buckle up thing was kind of floating around on Twitter for the week, and it was chaos for the week. And I know maybe some people were kind of mocking, but other people were having like actual fun with it. Like it was funny. When the social media team came out right before the draft and said, buckle up, I'm like, that's what they need to be doing. Right, they're taking user content and they're kind of mixing in with the fans. They're becoming one with the fans again, right? And let's just have freaking fun. We got the superstar.
100%.
Let's go.
Yep. And really that's it. And Keith Jones has mentioned it a few times. Like the fans are coming along with us, all right? Like he, as the president, he understood that they're nothing without their fans. They need the fans back in the seats. They need the fans to believe in the vision, because if the fans don't believe in it, then you just have the same shit that's been going on for the past like 6+ years, right? Like the fans against the franchise, the bags, right? Don't show up. It's just every time the Flyers tweet, it's just absolute mayhem with the responses they would get.
That's true.
So they need to bring the fans along, and it's not like a lie, like you said. Like they're actually buying in, they're doing it. They believe that that's what they have to do in order to get this franchise back. That is like step one. Like, yes, you need the talent, you need the rebuild, but if you don't have fans supporting it, then it's literally for nothing. And expectations are higher, because if you don't have the fans on you, then you need to go out and maybe cut corners to bring in talent that you maybe didn't want if you weren't doing a rebuild. So I think that's another huge aspect of it. And then one thing real quick, and then I got to hop off here, is people like, 3 years, that's too long. I mean, Cam York was drafted in 2019. You have 2020 guys, Forster. You have all these guys that are drafted 3-4 years ago who are just now you're seeing pop into the lineup and become, more names that you're seeing every day. So the 3-year thing is kind of bullshit. It's kind of like just the stupid thing that people are saying just to complain. I guess that's what the past 6+ years have done to us, right? Like they need to find something to hang on to complain about. So I think that 3-year thing is the thing that they're really doing with that. But we drafted kids in 2018, 2019, 2020, and they're just coming here. That's 3 years.
Yep.
And then, like you said, he's only going to be 20 years old at that. So, I mean, I wouldn't, hey, if it was 4 years, I wouldn't care, to be quite honest with you. Like, you continue the rebuild, kind of almost not forget that you drafted Michkov, but sort of in that sense, forget you drafted him. Do what you have to do for the next 3 years, and then you're like, oh shit, oh yeah, our superstar's coming over.
Yeah, right.
So like that's how I need, like, put Michkov, as much as it's put him on the back burner in a sense, right? continue the rebuild, do not cut any corners, and then year 3, when he gets out of his contract, you're like, oh my God, here comes this Russian superstar. Look what we've built without him even being here. Now we're ready to roll and compete. And I think that's what they're going to do, because obviously there's no pressure on Briere, right, and this organization in terms of winning. Like we know next season is probably going to suck. They might even be at the same pick again around that 7-ish spot. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, I think the timeline's great. The pick was great, and everything fell into Briere's lap, and it was played perfectly.
Couldn't agree more. And thanks for hanging out, buddy.
Yeah, that was very well said.
So I do want to say real quick, guys, only a couple minutes left. I want to get to the 2 requests here, but, in 3 years, like Ant was saying, you're building up your team, and when you get there, it's like, okay, Michkov's coming over. I just want to remind everybody real quick that you could be potentially adding a 20-year-old superstar who could easily score 30 goals that season. 40, I don't know. Maybe it's not out of the question. I don't know. 30 goals on an ELC. So come the time that it's ready, you're ready to bring him over, you can be adding to your roster. The Kevin Hayes contract comes off. D'Angelo's obviously will be off. You can add a stud in that offseason and go, Michkov's coming over. Let's pair him up on an ELC. And I don't know, maybe he signs a contract before it's finished up. That's what they did with Kaprizov, I think. But for 3 years, you could potentially have Michkov on an ELC scoring 30-plus goals, which would be outstanding. Let's bring Amadeo on real quick, and then I want to get to Peter before we wrap up. Amadeo, whenever you're ready to speak, buddy. Good to talk to you.
Hey, buddy. How you doing?
Pretty good. How are you?
Good. I have had dreams and visions of Michkov lifting the Stanley Cup in front of a Wells Fargo Center crowd that's about to freaking collapse. That's basically, I've been on cloud 9 since, Wednesday when they drafted him? It feels like it's ages ago now that they drafted him. I feel like it's been 2 years since he's been part of the Flyers at this point.
Dude, I haven't slept. Like my sleep is so messed up. Obviously, we had some of the guys over Wednesday, and between the alcohol and being excited, I couldn't sleep till like 2:30. And then last night, sort of the same thing going on, minus the alcohol. But, yeah, I mean, it's just my sleep's all messed up.
It just feels like right now it's like the first time I feel Flyers fans can just like be happy, because it feels like so much crap has gone wrong over so many years, and now we finally have that glimmer of hope with Danny Briere in this front office. And now the palm of your hands, you don't have to do anything. A generational talent that probably should have gone second overall if not for the crap that's going on over in Russia.
Yep.
He falls into the palm of your hands. And I don't care that you have to wait a couple of years. Yes, there is a risk because of all the geopolitical crap that's going on in Russia, but I don't think that's going to be an issue, because who knows what could change for the better or worse in a span of 2-3 years. I'm on the side that Michkov comes over in 2 years, because I feel like that's how badly he wants to play for this organization. But it's the fact that, imagine the way that Kaprizov came over for Minnesota, how much that made an impact.
Yep.
His floor is Kirill Kaprizov, and his ceiling is Alex Ovechkin. That's how good this guy is.
Dude, exactly that. And it's going to be instant. It's going to be instant success, right? And that's not fluff. Like, it just is. Like, he's that good. And it's unbelievable that he's going to play for the Flyers.
I know people were like complaining about all the leaks and everything, but like from what I've heard, Michkov was the top of their list. It was Michkov, Leonard, and Benson. Mm-hmm. And they didn't have to do anything. They were trying to trade Sanheim and all that crap to get the extra first-round pick, so Washington maybe wouldn't have jumped them. He fell right into their lap. That's what makes it even more better. He falls right into their lap because Arizona is stupid, because Montreal, in my opinion, is stupid, even though they're trying to compete. Montreal and Arizona. Have you seen the reactions from Montreal fans? I have,
and as much as I love Montreal, it's like, geez. Like, I love so two things. I like watching the insanity. On the other half, some people are going, I think, a little too far. Like, there's a line that I think you shouldn't cross. So yeah, but it's been amazing, honestly, because they were doing the same to us 4 years ago.
Yeah,
right?
It's kind of karma for us passing on Caulfield, I guess.
Exactly. So we were talking, I think Jack and I and some of the guys in the group, but can we forget about Cole Caulfield now that we have Michkov?
I believe we can.
Okay. Yeah.
I believe we can. Because even though I feel like there's some people that are really trying to like harp on the negative that he might not come over, which is honestly ruining my mood because I was listening to sports talk radio all yesterday and they were trying to do that. Like if 97.5, like I felt bad for Hunter Brody because he was so excited and they just ruined the mood for him.
Oh, they were talking about him not coming over or something like that.
It wasn't the fact that they weren't excited about the pick. They're just so scared about what's going on in Russia that he might not be able to come over because of that.
Right. Yeah, I think
I understand that my mindset. But this is supposed to be an exciting time. Let the fans be happy.
Right.
That's the thing.
Let us have this moment. Yeah, that's true. That's a good way to look at it. I'm not sure where that fear comes from. Like we were just talking about Kaprizov. We were talking about, somebody mentioned Malkin, Ovechkin. Somebody mentioned
because I feel like people are more scared about what happened to Fedotov, and Fedotov is just such
the unique case.
The unique case because I look at every other team and they don't have issues getting their Russian players over.
Right. It's because he plays for the military team.
Yeah. And I feel like that's the one thing that's also good with Michkov. He plays for the St. Petersburg SKA. I think they're tied to the military, but not as like scary as Moscow is.
Right.
So I think that's the benefit of everything. And that's probably why Fedotov got stuck, because he played for something that's really directly tied to Putin and all that crap.
Exactly. Amadeo, thanks for hanging out, dude. It was good talking to you again. We'll have to talk again soon.
You too, my man.
All right, enjoy the rest of your day, brother. Thanks for hanging out. We're going to get Peter on. And then we're going to wrap up the space, guys. This was a fun one. Where's the ad speaker button? Peter Hammond. Peter, how's it going, man? Thanks for waiting around.
Yeah, hello. My name is Peter. I'm from Sweden, actually. Big Philly fan from Sweden.
Oh, nice to have you on, Peter. Thanks for hanging with us.
Thank you. I was just thinking about Mitchell. Nice hearing you talk about him a lot, because in the beginning, I was really afraid of the free year you're always talking about. But after a while, you have to remember that he's a very young person. And because of all the things happening right now in Russia with the war, you probably know this, but in Europe, the team, Sweden, Finland, Swiss, and Germany, all that, they have actually banned their players to go and play to Russia.
Yes.
So there are some Americans, some Canadians in Russia who is playing KHL, but not so many people from Europe. That means that the younger players in Russia, this is the chance for them. They got more ice time. So this is going to be really good for him to play a lot, I think, from now and these 3 years, if we're going to stay for 3 years. So I think right now Sweden has 2 players in Russia, and they are all banned. They cannot play in the national team. The Swedish Hockey League doesn't accept them anymore.
Wow.
They have to stay. So this means that a lot of more younger Russian players need them, because they have space now. So this is really good for Misha.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That's great information there, Peter. Thank you for that. Yeah, so I mean, that's good to know that he's going to be getting the ice time in Russia.
Yeah, we really hope that. And I just want to ask you for my old hometown in Sweden is a place called Gävle, and actually both Ersson and the other Swedish goalie, now I missed his name.
Sandstrom?
What?
Felix Sandstrom?
Yes, they are from that team. What are your opinion of them? Do you think they have anything left to show, or what?
I think so. I honestly do. Ersson, so it's hard not to like Ersson, right? It's hard to kind of contain your excitement a little bit, because you could see clearly the tools are there. He's very calm in goal. I think he said he models his game after Carey Price. And, you know, if you put them side by side sometimes, it might be hard to distinguish the two. With Felix Sandstrom, I actually like Sandstrom, and he had a tough year last year, but the team wasn't all that good. He kind of got the short end of the stick in terms of the games that they played him in. He played in a lot of back-to-backs, I believe. So he, playing the second game in 2 nights, the team's a little bit more tired in front of you. If your opponent didn't play the same night before, they're going to be a little fresher. So he kind of drew the short end of the stick. And I would like to see him play back up again and maybe change that up a little bit. Give him a fair shot. Yeah.
Do you think it's going to be Carl Peterson or going to be Hart?
Oh, that's right, Cal Peterson. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. So they're still waiting for Hart's name to be totally cleared, I think, teams, before they trade for him. I'm not really telling anybody anything new here, but it seems like he's going to potentially be cleared, and maybe we see some movement in July. We'll see. But I forgot Cal Peterson was on the roster, and so is Sandstrom. So they have 3 guys right now. So something's going to have to give.
Something's going to happen. Yeah, no question. It's a lot of goalies right now. It's goalies everywhere. And how many goalies did we drafted? Huh?
So this year we drafted 2. We drafted Bjarnason and I don't know how to say the second guy's name, so I feel bad butchering it up. It's Zavragan, I think is how you say it. Zavragan.
Something like that. Yeah.
So
actually,
the cupboard is stocked, and we'll see what they do.
Yeah. Great. Thank you, man.
Peter, thanks for hanging out. Hope to see you again.
Yeah, same here.
Take care.
Take care.
All right, boys and girls, that is going to do it for our Friday Flyover space. Man, this one went a little bit over a half an hour, but that's okay because it's a big day, a big week. Flyers drafted Matvei Michkov, and free agency starts tomorrow. Flyers are not supposed to be big players. They only have $10 million worth of cap space. They're in a rebuild. Tortorella was quoted in the past as saying that they are going to try to backfill. So if there are some bottom sixers out there that maybe they can sign for the next year or 2, I doubt we're going to see any long-term deals. I hope not. But, it'd be interesting to see who they bring in and who fills what space and who might not be part of the Flyers' plans moving forward. I would say expect still a Tony DeAngelo trade. I think they got to wait till July 8th or 9th, so just a little bit over a week until he's moved off, and we'll see what happens. But certainly a fun time to be a Flyers fan right now. Lots to look forward to. Thanks to everyone that hung out on the spaces and everybody that chimed in. It's always a great time talking to you guys. Everybody that hung out on YouTube, thank you. Everybody in the chat, you made this fun. And we'll see you guys Monday for another HW Radio episode. And, of course, I'll be back next Friday for another Friday Flyover. Thanks, guys. Enjoy your weekend. Have a safe and happy 4th of July weekend. We'll talk next week. Bye-bye.